like the pretty rainbow, but it's the
Oh,
widowed life.
it's the widowed rainbow.
Right,
We're too tired to care.
we're
Take
on
a
the
look. Where is our checkbook? The widowed rainbow.
Welcome to season two.
Oh
Welcome
God.
aboard. Yes, we are
It
here.
starts off just as normal. Except this first episode of season two, my voice is at 9 octaves higher. If you go back and watch season one, episode one, it sounds like I'm mainlining helium for some reason. Wait, I know the reason. I was nervous. I
That is
hate
not the
listening
case
to that
anymore, folks.
episode.
We have popped his podcast cherry, and we
Oh
are
my
on a roll.
God. I hated that episode. I listened to it when I was editing. I'm going, oh, ow, it hurts me. Ow, it hurts me.
That's a part of the ride. It happens. We all go a little mad, change our voices
Mm-hmm.
up. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think probably for a while there, I was sounding pretty boyish, so it's all good.
I'm just happy I finally hit puberty between episode one and episode two. I mean, because that was a heck of a time for me.
You should find like a Mickey thing to put over your face while you're talking.
Oh, Minnie, look at this. My balls just dropped. Now
I
I know
can't wait
why
till
Goofy
we
talks like this. Mickey, I caught my balls in my zipper. What are we talking about? I'm a professional.
Oh fuck. I love this ride. It's fucking amazing. You have to be thankful for where you're at. Right? You
Mm-hmm.
have to be in the
Ain't
present
that the
moment because if
truth?
you weren't, like, this would not be happening right now. So to all the widow listening out there, you're welcome. Yes, we are all insane at some point
Yes,
or another.
we are willing to put our batshit craziness through this hellscape and to put it out there, not as a way of saying this is how you do it, but as a way of encouraging you to step into your own shit show hellscape. Oh my God, how am I getting through
Absolutely.
this burning dumpster fire of a life? Because that happens.
Yeah. Can embrace your weirdness and go run with it. It's the only way to
Weird.
get through it, I've learned.
I want there to be a weird setting on the dishwasher and the washing machine. That's the only place I see the word normal show up, where I hit it and it does a thing. Well, then there's power wash, then there's sanitize, which anytime my boys' clothes are washed, it's sanitize. Because frankly, eh, chemical bathe those things. They're disgusting. Anywho, I digress. But I want there to be a weird cycle where randomly it just goes, no, I don't want to. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Just to see if my clothes turn out any differently. I'm curious.
You know what would be a great addition to that? As if you
I'm
opened up the
afraid.
lid and they were folded. That'd be
No,
weird.
that is absolute horseshittery that's not been invented yet,
It needs
because
to be.
you and I are having a conversation over thousands of miles, multiple time zones. We are in different locations. We have a delay factor of like 0.5 seconds between what I say and what you respond to. We have the ability, I can call somebody right now in Thailand. I won't understand a word they're saying to me and they won't understand me, but I can call them. And you mean to tell me that there's no washing machine that can dry and fold the clothes? And then I know some rich bastards like, yes, I have them. Their name is fuck off. I don't mean that. I mean, I want Maytag, GE, Frigidaire, Whirlpool come out with a we fold your clothes for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then I need Dell to come up with smell-o-vision too, because why are we lacking in these two departments?
The world's just never
So,
going to know peace until we get this.
no,
There will be no world peace until these things happen.
I'm just trying to say, I want to smell your lunch and you should smell mine. I want
Out
to
of
know how
context, that's
delicious
a
this
great
recipe.
sentence. That's a great sentence out of context. I'm going to enjoy making that just a clip unconnected to anything whatsoever. Just random. I want to smell your lunchbox and you smell mine.
Yeah.
What?
Don't you ever like scroll on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and you see these people making these recipes and you're like, damn, that looks really good. I want to know what it smells like.
See, but I'm contrary. Here's why. Because I know before they put up the finished product, they burned the shit out of the other stuff. So no, I don't want to smell their burnt kitchen, because while they're making it look pretty, they burned 3 other versions before that. So nope.
Well, I mean, editing is editing, and I'm pretty sure AI can help them. But I mean, come on, just give me a little whiff, just a little.
No, I don't want that. Mostly because I'm
You can tell.
afraid that I'll get the smell of the person, and not everybody smells good. I have a 14-year-old son. I can walk into a room and know he's in there before I see him. Why? Because, oh God, you go away. I don't know how you do that, but you go away.
I walked into my son's room yesterday. I was like, it smells like feet in here. He's like, because my feet are sweaty. And I was just like, that's really, really gross. Wash your feet.
My feet are sweaty. I'm going to cut them off. That way we won't have a problem.
Go throw them in the washer, dry, and folding machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, have him be folded and put away. I don't want them to put it away. That would be great. Don't get me wrong. But fold.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I'll make a compromise here. All right, clothing company. Don't fold the clothes. Fine. Mate the socks. Just the socks. Just mate the socks. I'll be fine. I can do anything else. Mate the socks.
Fair enough.
What are we talking about again? What are we here for?
Why we're so angry. This is not happening.
Oh, welcome, folks, to season 2, episode 1. This previous 10-minute rant just wants to remind you of the characters you're dealing. Yeah, we don't make sense. We know we don't. What's that? What's that look for?
Because you're frozen.
I wasn't. Not on my end. You were. You glitched.
You're frozen on my end, but you were talking. Oh, there you are. I was so about to take a picture, and you were like, nope.
And this is why I recorded on my machine, just to make sure that the video works all the way.
So now you're going to have me just like.
That's right. Yep. I'm just going to freeze your picture. Your half of just.
Why so angry?
Why is Amber angry? Well, where do you want to begin? Why are we talking about anger? Well, that's going to be the topic of this episode. But to get you ready for this episode, we wanted to take a few minutes here and let you know some updates. As you can see, with season 2, we did about 8 episodes before, where we kind of just got the sense of what we're doing. We had to figure out a few issues, figure out some technical questions. And really, it was kind of a proof of concept. Did we think that there was something to do here? And we feel like there is. We've heard feedback from viewers and listeners, and there does seem to be some merit to it. And so we're going to keep plugging away at it. Now, you might be wondering, where are the rest of the other episodes? Great question. We recorded a few others, but a couple things have occurred from their recording to this point. The first is I got really busy in the summer. Summertime got incredibly hectic, and one of the things that we are very keen on with the the podcasting by Just Widowing. By the way, that's our new name now, podcasting by Just Widowing. You're going to notice more of that more and more. Is recognizing that life is life, and sometimes things get very busy. Sometimes what you think you can do, you end up being too exhausted to do. And sometimes you need to give yourself the grace to be able to step away, to get yourself gathered up, to get back to doing what you need to do. So summertime got a busy spurt there for about 6 weeks. About the time then, I went to start editing the other videos. Grief is a beautifully fickle bitch and does not follow a pattern. And there for about 3 weeks, my depression was fairly significant, to the point where I was able to get up, do my work, make sure my kids had a father present. And that was about it. There wasn't a whole lot else that was getting done. Why? I didn't have it. I literally had no energy to even go down that path. And it's not that editing is super hard. It takes time, but it's not that it's super hard. It's just I didn't have it. And then we had another development within our community, which is that Jillian decided to step away from what was then Widowed Rising. The name of it is now changed to just Widowing. And we wish Jillian the best of luck as she continues her work and her journey in her personal life and working to help others cope and grow through grief. We thank you for the work she did with us, and we wish her the best of luck in what she's doing. And so with that, I want to let you know that we're going to go for about a 10 episode arc for each season. At that point, kind of resets to where we're at. And a couple things we're going to do for this season is we're going to be doing some interviews with you, the community. There are members within our community who have had different grief experiences as well too, and we want to talk with you. We want to hear your story. We want to share your story. Why? Because it matters. We have been very keen on demonstrating two aspects throughout the podcasting experience, which has been one, there is no one way to grieve. There is a whole spectrum of experience within that. And number two, we want to make sure that you can do it authentically and not feel like you have to put on a face, a facade for somebody else so that they are comfortable with your grief. That's if you find yourself ever trying to make somebody comfortable with your grief, that's probably not a person you need to be around. So with that being said, we want to do interviews so we can put those stories out there. We want to do blind reactions. This was something that was very interesting to do, in which Amber finds a video that she gets very emotionally invested in one way or another. We then record my reaction to it blind. I have no idea what the video is. It's just a matter of going, oh, okay, that's a thing. And then from that point, discussing what are some things there. And the reason we wanted to do that is to, of course, model that sometimes your initial reaction and your thought reaction are going to be very different responses. And what can it look like to have that different interaction? And the other thing we're going to talk about are topics, just different things. We talked a lot about dating the first season. This time we're going to talk about some different stuff. And the first one we're going to talk about is a glorious word. It's 5 letters. It's anger. Anger. Now, I'm not sure why Brown Sugar over there was having a stroke while she was trying to model anger. But grief and anger are very close together. One often begets the other. As I said earlier, my depression kicked in pretty hardcore over the summer, and it started from a very angry emotion I had that my wife was not here with me anymore, that she had died. And then after that very intense anger was experienced, there was guilt at feeling that, and then just outright depression from that. And so I think it's important then in talking about anger, Amber, I'll ask you this question. Since you've entered into this widowed hellscape, what are some triggers you've discovered within yourself that either you didn't know you had or have become intensified since you've entered in?
It's a good question. I've noticed I am a lot more sensitive when it comes to even the word love. For whatever reason, there's a deep sense in me that looks at the world today, whether they're married couples, divorce, dating. I've looked at that whole aspect of life like, does anybody really know what the hell they're doing or talking about? And it angers me because I hear a lot of negative talk about relationships and whether it's against men or against women. And at the end of the day, it's frustrating knowing that everybody's out here looking for their special someone, right? And we've had that, we've experienced that. And it triggers me to the point where I get angry, but then I have to realize I'm not angry, I'm frustrated because
Mhm.
I know the value of what a marriage is. I know the value of what love and partnership is. And now that it's not here and I can't embrace that anymore, but yet everybody else is out here just kind of taking advantage of it. It's
Mhm.
frustrating, and that does anger me because everybody deserves to have that partnership. Everybody deserves to have that love, what everybody is looking for, but yet nobody seems to know how to go about it. And it's almost like it's just being stomped on. Like what
Mhm.
relationships have no meaning anymore. And that's so irritating because looking at our situation in our community is none of us asked for that, yet here we are and we have to deal with it. And then hearing, and this is not against anybody, this is just the whole principle of the matter. Hearing other people complaining about their exes or complaining about men, complaining about women, it's like, what the fuck? So it's kind of giving me like a whole different point of view, I guess, kind of stepped
Mhm.
outside the box. And I don't know if there's a lot of other widowed that could agree with that, because I think that's just something that you don't see, you don't recognize until you're placed in that situation.
I you as you were going through that answer, you you actually said a sentence that has been a trigger for me since my wife passed, but it had always been a bit of a trigger. It says I have to be more on top of it. And it's when people speak in general inclusiveness. And what I mean by that is words like all, everyone. You
Mhm.
made a statement, and I out of context, I know what you were saying in context, but out of context, my brain went, you when you said relationships have no meaning for anyone anymore, because it made me think about all the complaints I hear of all these women on Tinder, all these men on Bumble, all these. I'm like, no, no, it is not. And if you go into every interaction, assuming that every single person is going to be an exact certain way, that's exactly what they become. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And anytime, and I know that's an interesting statement I just started with. So let me couch it a bit, which is almost anytime somebody uses the word all, every time, every anything, I start nitpicking. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because if it was all one way, then there's no point. Then there's no point in trying. If everything is just going to be that, well, you know how it is, there's nothing you can do. There's always something you can do, even if
Yeah.
it's choosing to have a different response or a different interaction. And so I've observed some people say, hey, I've not had real great interactions on the dating app, so I've decided to step back for a little bit. That to me is a much healthier response and doesn't invoke any anger within myself because
Yeah.
yeah, I miss my wife terribly. I miss being in a relationship with someone. I miss so much of it. But I'm not about to say, well, all these women here are doing this, or I'm like, no, that's not how this works. So for my part, I
Yeah.
get incredibly incensed. If I'm not careful, it shows. Normally I can keep it in check, but if I'm not careful, it shows. And when it shows, I become antagonistic. Um, and so that then leads to the next question I have, which is how do you
But
deal with
wait,
oh, okay, go ahead. But
let's
wait,
let's
there's
go back on
more.
that,
Okay.
because no, you make very valid point, because that's a lot of what it is, the blanket statements. Everybody's going under
That's
this
the
one,
word.
everybody's going to, men are going under this category, women are going under that, and it's frustrating as all get out. And it really does, this is where I get really angry, that actually for the most part I think I've grown to be a pretty sensible person, understanding that everybody has their experiences and this is how they're responding or this is how they're reacting to stuff. So I've had to learn that for myself as well. But what really does anger me, like you said, with those statements as a solo mother, is when they start talking about single mothers. Stop. Like, and it's crazy because we were talking about this the other night, Lisa, and I had to Google it because I'm so sick and tired of the same regurgitated word vomit that these people are just out here just spewing all over the place, like freaking full of water balloons, just popping their nonsense everywhere. Is the fact that 80% of mothers, they're the reason, single mother, they're the reason why half the people are incarcerated. Well, first of all, where do you even come up with that? Like, there's no study that shows that. Yes, there are single mothers than single mothers, but guess what? It's really not by a large percent. It's like not even a full percent. So for that to even go out there is ridiculous to say. And even if that was true, like you just said, if it was all one way, there'd be no point. But let's ask ourselves, why are there so many single mothers? Mm-hmm. And it's not even, and this is where that blanket statement comes across. I'm not a single mother by fucking choice. So for you to put us all under that, I really just want to go around slap the hell out of some of them to release my anger, because that's just ignorance. Like, that is probably like the most angry I will get over anything when you sit here and pick on single parents, whether it's single mothers or single fathers, because everybody has their own situations. Everybody is different. And what people are failing to realize, what they're not talking about, which is why it's important for us, is that since COVID, there are more widows and solo parents out there because of fucking COVID. And the only thing that modern red pill society can get with is, all women are hoes and OnlyFans, and women and men need to make six figures and be six men just to be men. Like, where the fuck are y'all coming up with this delusion?
So remember, folks, this episode was anger. We're showing you what that looks like in a moment, because that's the other thing too. Anger makes a lot of connections that are already in our head, but don't always come out within our conversation. So as Amber was saying, those things she was talking about, some of these are conversations that I've been a part of with her from months ago. But for somebody watching this, they're like, where the hell did she come up with that? That's the other thing with anger, is you got to watch.
Rabbit holes.
There you go. The other thing with anger is you got to watch, because you will naturally make connections in your head because you are in a heightened state of emotion and thinking that other people won't, which is part of why I wanted to talk about this too, because now the next question I have for you, Amber, as you gave a beautiful demonstration, thank you for that, totally unscripted. I didn't even intentionally set that shit up. That just went.
All authentic, baby. All authentic. That's what we're here to bring the people, is authenticity. And I have nothing but that for you. So
what's great is your authenticism is amazing, because sometimes it'll lead to rants like that, and other times chasing a thought across the screen. Just where did it go? And it's just the range is beautiful. How do you deal with the anger? Because I asked that because in your experience with grief in particular, you've said before that your first year was not a good year, that what you experienced, what you did are not, you weren't happy or satisfied with what that was. You survived it, I think is the word you used the one time, is you survived that experience. And as you've come to have a different mindset of grief, my guess is you probably have a different mindset of how to, adapt and deal with your anger. So how do you deal with it?
Well, it's been a long journey of that. It really has been intentional work. It's like you said in the beginning, like I was just angry that he left us. I was angry that God would allow it. I was angry at the world. I was angry why him and not that jackass, like just angry over the grassing and the air airing. Like, why? And it got to the point where it led me to every strain of weed and every bottom of the bottle I could find. But after a while, it was just kind of like, the best way I could say it is, I read something the other day about anger, and it's helped me along it, is Anger is just a self sentence. If we're angry and we let it go on somebody else, all that's doing is just pissing off ourselves even more. It's deteriorating us on the inside. We're holding on to that. It's taking up space. It's toxic to us, right? And thinking about it and going through my process, the way I started dealing with anger was just like, is this really worth it? Like, what am I gonna get by being angry about this? What, like Cameron's death? I'm fucking pissed even to this day that he left. But what does that do? It does nothing for me. So there's times where I get angry, right? And sometimes I have to have that conversation with myself a few times. It may take me a couple days. Like, okay, am I really angry about this? Yeah, I'm angry about this because this, and they said da. Okay, but what about this side? And what do we get out of it? And at the end of it, if we continue being angry about this, where is that going to take us up or is it going to take us down? Well, yeah, I'm going to go down because what's the point? And these are the conversations I have with myself. And by the second, third day, I'm like, you know what? That let's just say it was something against something. That's on them. I can't change that. And if I'm gonna continue being angry, all I'm doing is giving myself another sentence. Mm-hmm. And I'm tired of being locked up for stupid shit that my brain is telling me. I'm tired of being angry. Why take all that energy and just constantly when I can like take that same energy and just go about life and whatever it may be to be happy. You know, when I'm angry, I miss out on a hug with my kid. You know, or if I'm angry, I miss out on just going outside and enjoying the sunlight. Just being angry, just that reading it like that and having that death sentence or that life sentence, it's almost like a death sentence. If you're going to continue, you're just going to be miserable. Who wants that? I don't want to be angry all the time and miserable all the time.
Side note for those wondering, Amber didn't suddenly grow hair under her right armpit and a hand that crawled up. That's her kid, one of her kids. Just saying, just we saw the top of the hair just enter into the picture in the middle of your rant. And I'm like, I know what it is. Most people would know what it is, but there's a joke to be made here, and I'm gonna go for it. So for me, the way I have my anger is such that I think I feel more intensely what I did before she passed. And typically when I'm angry, I go very quiet. And that what I felt sorry for my wife about that, because when I was really pensive, I'd go really quiet. So sometimes Lee pissed and Lee pensive, Lee thinking and Lee stewing looked exactly the same.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Well, are you mad?" No, I'm just thinking. What are you thinking about? I'm really pissed. You know, it's like it was so I've worked really hard to be able to name what it is before that moment occurs. So for example, if somebody asks me a question, I'll obviously let me think about that a minute. Like I'll identify what's going on as opposed to just walking into that experience. Whenever I am angry about something now, there's almost tiers of it, like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1 anger is like, okay, this is really annoying. I'll be glad when this conversation's done so I can let this shit go. Tier 2 is, this is going to come back later. I am so annoyed right now. This is going to be a pain in my butt later. Tier 3 is, I need to not be close to weapons because I'm going to hurt someone. Because they're really driving me nuts. Fortunately for me, I've only, since my wife died, had one moment where a tier 3 experience was going on, and so I was like, I'm stepping away. I even told the person, I'm not able to hear what you're saying right now. I'm not going to be able to understand right now, so I need to step away. We can talk about this later. And that's what I did. And part of dealing with the anger is knowing how it reacts within me. As a young man, 18, 19, My anger was very physical, never towards somebody else, and not necessarily towards myself, but there's an experience that I have where I was by definition enraged, and absolutely um I was a raw nerve, and I needed an outlet. And so I took a baseball bat and went into the woods. And this isn't a hyperbole or a glorified story. I blacked out. And my next thought is, if you've ever been around wood that's just been cut, you know that smell in the air. My next memory is that smell, me looking around, a tree has been downed. The bat that I had walked out with is now bent, and there are blisters all over my hands that have popped, and I'm now bleeding on both of my hands. So I am never going to be confused with a detective, but if I'm putting the clues together, my rage took down a tree that was doing nothing to anyone. And I remember that moment because as I started calming down and processing what was happening, I'm like, that tree was doing nothing to anyone. That tree was helping. My anger took out something that was helping. My anger destroyed a life that was doing nothing but trying to make the world better. I need to be really careful with my anger. And as the grief experience has gone on, I've kept that close in mind, is don't get to that point. Don't get beyond tier 3. Tier 3 you can walk away from. Anything else, you may have repercussions that are going to impact your kids, and you cannot have that. But and so that anger it's there. I know it's part of me. I know it sits in a part of my soul that I'm like, let's not really let you into the party. For some people that'd be like tequila. Don't put tequila in the party. Nothing good's gonna happen there.
Right.
I'm fine with tequila. I can take whatever. But that also makes me bring up this question: has your anger changed at all, or what makes you angry changed from before Cameron's passing to now?
I don't. I think my anger has calmed down. I don't. I don't get angry over things that I used to. Like I used to be kind of like something's always frustrating me. Something's always pissed me off, and it just built up to always being angry. But after that, realizing like, holy shit, how everything can just change
Mm-hmm.
in less than a half a second.
Mm.
I don't allow myself to get angry over something that's not going to mean anything within 24 hours up to a week, because what's the point? And I have to ask myself that all the time, like, does that really fucking matter? Does like, is that really a part of what I'm here for? If
Mm.
it's not going to benefit, if I can't take a lesson from it and pass on a lesson from it, then let it go, because it's just one more stupid ass thing that's happening in life. And if it's not something that's, I don't want to get angry over something unless it's like, oh my God, some asshole is trying to harm my family or something. But even then, I probably wouldn't even get angry. At that point, I'm gonna just take you out because you have no business being in this situation. So the anger thing, I think that's just kind of something I'm learning to let go of. And what's helping me is going down these rabbit holes because they piss me off. And I know they piss me off because the blanket statements, I don't like that generalization on everybody, because going through it, I never really had the perception of, well, everybody goes through their own things. But having gone through this and hearing so many stories, everybody goes through similar situations, but on just a different level of the spectrum, right? They all have their individual stories. Some may be a little bit harsher than the others, not as bad, but it still all affects us in certain ways. So with that in mind, I get angry about it. I hear what some of these people have to say, and I'm just like, You kind of, what? Like, where do you get that thought process? Like, what is happening? But then I'm like, look, they haven't been through a real actual relationship, or they haven't been through a real heartbreak, or whatever it is that they may be speaking on, that I'm like, whoa, you probably shouldn't be talking about. But I realize we're in a society too where everybody gets a microphone and a video camera nowadays, and everybody's a professional. So I'm just, yeah, we
Literally
are
what we
too,
have right
right
here.
here, right here, this, right here, right here. We got this. We're a part of that, right? But I do believe that there is a difference on a lot, because what I've noticed, and I've heard it, and this is the only reason I'm saying this, because I've heard it confirmed a few times from a few different sources, that, oh shit, hold on, let me chase it.
Chase the thought.
Just, there are people that will go out on social media and put themselves out here and all this stuff, and a lot of stuff that we hear, all the negative talk, that is what's getting attention, because that's what society is addicted to. It's what we're being molded into, focus on the distractions, focus on the negative. Everybody's against each other. That's the way it works, right? But then I have to keep in mind, like, don't fall into that, because then it's going to put me into that angry place I have no business being, when there's a whole nother world outside of that, for this side of it, with the people, the mics and the cameras, who are really trying to spread positivity and uplift other people, and just go on about and live a life on how we dream of it, each individually. But I think that answered the question, because now I don't remember that question. I kind of went on a rampage there for a minute, but
Kind of went on a rant.
I love this show.
It's interesting as well too, because in my professional life, my job is to be empathetic to a degree, a place where people can connect, can talk to, can interact with. And what is interesting is, it's been my observation that for some, I think the fact that I'm a widowed person makes it harder for them to talk to me now, because when they are angry, when they are incensed, there's a bit of, I don't say anything, because that's not the way I work in this regard, but it's that you can almost see them going, I really shouldn't be complaining about this. Of all things to complain about, I'm complaining to a guy who has lost half his world. Why am I complaining? And so I've watched people come to me with anger. As they process their feelings, they'll inevitably go, I'm sorry, it really doesn't get that much. I shouldn't get that worked up about it. And they'll kind of apologize for the anger. And I'm very keen to say, no, if you don't express it now, it's obviously going to be a problem for you later. Deal with it now. And so to that end, I think it's been an interesting experience to watch others deal with their anger while interacting with me. It's in my job, because since she's passed away, I have a really good ability to stop caring. That if something's making me mad, there's nothing that says I have to be involved in it. I literally only have to be involved with my boys. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And well, what about your job? Okay. If something happens and they let me go, I'll go find another job somewhere else. I if and when my boys make me mad, because children do, because they're the spitting image of the deceased parent that's not here, not me. I'm amazing. But my wife's not here, so she can't defend her DNA within them. Even when I'm angry, it's not anything that it's like I hate them. It's a matter of, I don't like that choice. I really think you're making bad decisions. Let's work this out. So at the pinnacle of my anger with them, it's not even high yet. Thomas is 14. There's days I'm like, he might make it to 17. We'll see. There's no promise at this point. But otherwise, I've had to be very careful, because I think when I tune out or when I emotionally divest myself from something, it must show on my face, because people, and like I've watched them shift how they interact with me. And so my anger, I think, it's clearer in what it looks like, but it's muted in its expression, in that I just don't get that mad, because what good's it going to do? What good is getting pissed going to do? Is it going to change things? No, my actions will, not my anger. My anger is something that, I'm not saying I don't feel it, because anger is an emotion that has a very present and real expression and need within our lives. But to the same end, it's unlikely to change the world for the better. So I'm not going to let that be what I do with it. I'm not going to let that guide my actions and my decisions, although it is present. And so how I deal with it, how I've coped with it is, when I'm angry, I make sure I can express it somewhere, somehow, whether it be talking to my therapist, expressing I was incredibly mad at something, talking to my sisters, talking to my friends, or just kind of pulling back for an hour and doing nothing, making sure my boys have what they need, making sure that they're settled. I usually wait till they're in bed till I start processing most of my emotions, because that's a training I have, is to be able to do that. And so generally then, by the time I get to that point, I've had a chance to have a breath. And the thing that was making me angry probably still annoys the shit out of me, but it's less likely to evoke the angry response I had in the moment. And that hasn't always been the case for me. Medication helps, psychotherapy helps, perspective helps, all those combine. But I've watched as well too, when with some of the other widowed groups I'm a part of, man, when some people get angry, there isn't enough fire retardant in the world to put out that anger and that fire and that flame. And so I think to a certain degree, I've learned from watching the expression of anger of others. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that. I don't want my kids to see that. Am I judging that person? No. What I'm saying is, that's not how I want my kids to see me. That person's kids, that person's family, that's their conversation. I'm not buying into that. I don't want that for my kids. And so that makes me wonder, what have been some, what you would, expressions of anger you've seen where you're like, I don't want any of that?
Yeah, a lot of it I see it comes out more as empty rants, which I get, because when you're angry, you have so many different thoughts going through your head. You have a lot of ego happening. You got a lot of self-criticism going on. So when it comes to that, I'm like you. I'm like, ooh. It's almost like watching somebody drunk, right? And you're like, is that how I get when I'm drunk? I don't want to do that. Like, let me watch my limit on my drinks. It's almost the same thing with anger. It's like, I've heard, okay, I get why you're pissed. You said it very clearly in the beginning, but now you're just kind of rambling, and it's, let's focus on why you're angry. And it's almost like we lose the reason why we're angry. Now we're just pissed, because what happens is you start with one thing why you're angry, and then your mind just starts throwing other little things in there. And next thing you know, you're pissed off from sixth grade when little Billy told you no, he didn't like you, or whatever the case was, and now you're pissed off about something that happened 25 years ago. So I'm like you, like my anger shows on my face, and I've had to learn to train myself to be aware of my own facial expressions, because I know my face is louder than my vocals at times.
Which is
And
saying something.
I've done a lot of self-aware work. I've worked like for the last 2.5 years. Well, we'll just call it 2 years. I've done a lot of fucking like jam-packed. Like it's gotten to the point where I've heard my mentors say, you need to like not do so much shadow work and shit. I'm like, okay, I gotta find my balance. But I've noticed like my first trigger for me when I know I'm getting angry is my eyebrow. And I'm like, oh, okay, that somebody is saying something that I'm not, it's not aligning and I don't like it. And I need you to reverse your thoughts. But I realize that that's me. Okay, so let's figure out
All
why
of a sudden you
you're
become the Rock.
Yeah. And it's like, and I'm with you, like, I feel like it's important on top of all the things that you said to have while you're going through that. But I think what's really important when for anybody, especially the widow, just because I think it is a whole nother lifestyle, weird way to put it, but you have to have your power group. You have to have at least one or two people that you can vent to where they know that you're just angry and they know that you just need to let it all fucking go. They're not there to judge you. They're not there to give you any piece of advice. They may throw in little nuggets here or there and just like, hey, I noticed, because I have my team where I'm like, okay, you guys, I'm pissed the fuck off. And they know I'm pissed. V knows it.
Mostly because you've announced it in that form.
I announced
when you
it.
declare it like that, it's hard to go,
I do.
I wonder what Amber's feeling right now.
I come with a flag. Like, I'm pissed and you're gonna fucking hear it. But the people that I've been to, they know me well enough to know she has to let it out. And at the end of it, we're gonna give her some feedback and she'll be fine. Like, and I think it's important for everybody to have that team behind them to just go off, because it's better. Yeah, you got it out by beating up that tree, but now you're feeling some sort of way because you beat up the tree that did nothing but provide oxygen to the little forest animals. So, it's like help. A kind of a cycle. All it did was help. So now you kind of like throw yourself in this cycle. Now, what if you had that person to go to and just like attack that tree verbally, and they're just like, okay, Haley, you knocked the tree down. What how do you feel now?
How's that working for you?
Right.
Well, and I think it's important as well too, and I think that's one of the things that whenever people who hear this, if you've gotten to this point in the podcast, first off, congratulations, we're amazing. You've just gotten we're fairly amazing, so I congratulate you on sticking with us. But frankly, I should congratulate you, because where else would you go? I think it's important to know that as you do continue in this cycle of grief, because grief does not end. It does not. You get to be maybe stretches where you're fine, but it's not a logical progression. One of the things that I think is foundational for the recovery and to be a widowed person is to have what I would call a relational tether or an anchor. Somebody like Amber was just talking about, somebody who, I'm not saying at all hours of the night, because look, we're all adults. Yes, maybe once in a while you have that, but if you keep calling at 3 a.m, and you might need to step out and find a therapist. In fact, I'd recommend that for everybody, but that's a whole nother conversation. But to have that relational tether, somebody who you can go to the end of your rope with, and they won't let it snap. That they'll say, okay, come on back. Let's work on this. Because sometimes, you got to run the rope out, see how far it goes. Now you're out there. How's it feel to be at the end of your rope? How's it going for you? All right, come on. Let's get you back in. And these are people who are not going to hold it against you. These are people whose job it is to make sure that you feel supported and that you can grow. And that's one of the ways to deal with anger, I think, is to make sure you have people. And it can get very tricky, because grief and widowhood has a very insidious aspect of it, and that is isolation. And that is a very real problem that we as widowed people have to be aware of. Because
Yeah.
frankly, unless we can be hard to talk to, not because we're terrible people or antisocial, but kind of from what we were talking about earlier. When people have normal everyday complaints, we're kind of sitting there going, you lucky fuckers. You know, that luxury of complaint that some people experience, for many of us, we'd go, I would trade almost everything I could to have that complaint.
Yeah.
And I think it makes it difficult sometimes for people to talk with us. And so nobody's rude, nobody's mean about it. But I think they kind of back off, not because they don't care, but because they don't know how to be with us in that capacity. And I don't fault them because, frankly, I don't know how the fuck to be in this capacity some days. You know, how are you doing? I didn't shit my pants and I woke up and I got dressed.
Right. My kids made it through another day.
Yes, another day of not needing to wear Depends. Which, side note, is the worst name for an adult diaper. Does it work? Depends. No, it should be all the fucking times. Does it work? All the fucking times? Great, I'll wear those.
Oh my God. I don't know why that triggered a thought, but in Aurora.
Oh, I can't wait to see where this trigger goes.
There is a funeral home service.
This is an even better transition already. I love where this is going.
They're called Newcomer.
They're pretty big in my area.
Are they? They're everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, there's newcomers everywhere. Yeah, they're called pubescent boys. Anyways, yeah, let me.
I love this show.
Yeah.
If I was on it, I'd watch it.
I did. Now they go by Newcomer Funeral Service Group, which again just makes me want to giggle every time because I'm a giant overgrown child. But like they're kind of like all over the Midwest. There's some in Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana. I see ones here in Kansas. And it looks like, let me make sure I get this right, because so they're in Wyoming, Denver, Colorado, Kansas City, Missouri, Wisconsin, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, and New York, and Florida. 40 locations in 10 states. Yeah, they're just coming all over the place.
Yeah.
Watch out, Illinois. They're coming for you.
They're holding everybody's hand in that transition. Welcome, newcomer. Now, welcome to death.
What was the name? I've seen other terrible names, which was one was Butcher Funeral Home. I'm like, that shouldn't. No. And then another one.
I can see that as a gag for a meat market, but
another one, and this is actually a funeral home. His name was Cutright. All right, Cutright Funeral Home. All right. However, this guy was a dick. And I had a friend who committed suicide, and this guy did the funeral, and I didn't lead it or anything because I was grieving as well too. And my wife reached over at one point halfway through the viewing and just grabbed my hand and squeezed hard because apparently I was exuding anger. Like, I'm going to go punch this fucker. I am absolutely going to go up and I'm going to punch this fucker because he is doing everything wrong. You were being the most inconsiderate asshole of a human being I've ever met in my life. What the hell are you doing? Like, I was just incensed at how bad this guy was. That was a level 2 to level 3 tier right there that my wife kept it down to a 2 to 1. Oh, that was a hell of a night. Other shit happened that night too. I just now remember it. Oh, gosh. Anyways, I think that's a pretty good conversation to encourage others to step into it.
Absolutely.
And much like season 1, sometimes we're on topic. Sometimes we get back around to the topic, But inevitably, the topic is designed and the conversation is designed to help you both laugh and feel emotions for those who are watching this, because widowhood sucks. You learn to cope with it, you learn to grow within it, and you learn that the scars aren't the limitations of what you can do, but a reminder of what you were. And as our emotions become often redefined in our grief, it's important to be able to express them, specifically anger, because anger is an important emotion. It does have a role in our lives. And if we're not careful with it, it can be utterly destructive. It reminds me of gasoline. In a car, gasoline's amazing. In a fire pit, less so. Still the same thing, but different places. And so before we bring this to a close, I wanted to make sure, is there anything that you would like to add there, Brown Sugar, that you didn't get a chance to vent? Or did you find another thought as it was just on the freeway of thoughts over?
Look, it's a jam-packed traffic jam of thoughts on that highway. Okay. Back to back, bumper to bumper thoughts.
Honk, honk, come on, I got a thought here.
No, but you did make a very valid point that, you know, with anger, there comes so much. And like, as this episode has shown, there's different levels of anger, just as there is of any emotion, right? And with anger, the funny thing about it is it's a little crazy, but a little honest at the same time. You know, you're angry for a very valid reason most of the time, I would say. But then, you know, as you go through it, you see, as I demonstrate, a lot of times that crazy part of the anger kicks in and you start laughing uncontrollably because you just are subconsciously trying to keep yourself from walking up and punching that person who's completely being a jackass. You know, so you sometimes, like, anger comes with very different emotions, and being a widow, there's already 1,200 different emotions that we don't even know half of them that just arise at any given fucking second, and you're just like, whoa, what the fuck is that, and why? And I was not prepared for this, and why are you here, sadness? I was living my best life, creating this content and having a good time. Why are you making me cry all of a sudden? You know, it's just a fucking commercial about French fries. Like, it's all over the place. So it's like, at the end of it, be aware of what state of anger or emotion that you're in. And I think, you know, going into it in the just widowing, formerly known as Widowed Rising, soon to be just widowing, we're going to be talking about creating emotions or creating relationships with your emotions, because it's important to know what arises, how to react and respond with that emotion, and what you're really feeling at that time. Because a lot of us will just, like you, I have less of a caring, what's the word I'm looking, threshold than I ever did. I don't give two rats butts about nothing. Like, if it ain't got to do with me or my kids, I don't care. There's times where I'm like, I'd be all right if I quit my job. I can go find another one 6 months later. Like, is it really that important? I don't really care. I can figure out ways to get food on the table, you know, or just like you said, when people come about their what may seem to us petty complaints, you be like, I can't get with that. I don't know. The eyebrow starts going up. You know, it's like, I don't know. But it's just, at the end of it, it's just important to bring yourself down a little bit when you realize you're getting hyped up, you're getting wired, and just kind of ask yourself, why is this important? What is it about this situation that's pissing me off so bad? Is it going to be worth it tomorrow to be pissed off about? If not, let that shit go. You got other stuff to be more upset. In this time, and I don't watch a lot of TV, but I would be more upset. My fucks right now in life would be more so, why are you taking so long to upload the next season of Good Girls? Like, why? That's the extent of my anger these days, because I don't care. My husband isn't here. I know that's not the end of my life, but that's where my mindset is, because that grieving decides to pop up and say, hey, you miss your husband more than anything right now. And that's okay. And I look at his picture and I'm like, you're a dick and I love you, and move on with life.
So, as a way of bringing a nice conclusion to this, I would like to share my screen here as soon as I see where they put that option. Have you ever heard of the song "I've No More Fucks to Give"?
I don't know, but I would love to hear it.
Oh, you're going to love me. Just know that you're absolutely going to love me when I
Even
show this
more.
to you. And so I'm going to also email the author, the guy who did it, to see if we can possibly, I'm going to put this in the video, but if in case we can't show it, either we'll conclude it right after you watch the video with us, or there'll be a gap right here. And then we'll do the conclusion. But for now, here is, his name is Thomas Benjamin Wild Esquire. And it is one of the best songs I've ever heard in my life.
I've tried, and I've tried even more. I've cried, and I can't recall what for. I've pressed, I've pushed, I've yelled, I've begged in hopes of some success. But the inevitable fact is that it never will impress. I've no more fucks to give, my fucks have runneth dry. I've tried to go fuck shopping, but there's no fucks left to buy. I've no more fucks to give, though more fucks I've tried to get. I'm over my fuck budget and I'm now in fucking debt. I strive to get everything done. I've played by all the rules, but I've very rarely won. I've smiled, I've charmed, I've wooed and laughed, alas, to no avail. I've run round like a moron to unequivocally fail. I've no more fucks to give, my fuck fuse has just blown. I've been hunting for my fucks all day, but they've upped and fucked off home. I've no more fucks to give, my fuck rations are depleted. I've rallied my fuck army, but it's been fucking defeated. The effort has just not been worth the time or the expense. I've exhausted all my energy for minimal recompense. The distinct lack of acknowledgement has now begun to gall, and I've come to realize that I don't give a fuck at all. I've no more fucks to give, my fucks have flown away. My fucks are now so fucked off they've refused to fucking stay. I've no more fucks to give, my fucks have gone insane. They've come back round and past me while they're fucking off again. I've no more fucks to give, my fucks have all dissolved. I plan many projects, but my fucks won't be involved. I've no more fucks to give, my fucks have all been spent. They fucked off from the building and I don't know where they went. I've no more fucks to give, I've no more fucks to give. I've no more fucks, I've no more fucks, I've no more fucks to give.
That sounds awesome. Yes, that needs to be our theme song. No more fucks to give.
It has, oh my God, it's one of my favorite I've ever seen, and it is utterly hysterical. How many views has this guy had on it? It's 15 million views.
Oh, yeah.
From 4 years ago. So obviously COVID really helped us all not give a fuck. But
Right.
I just love that My fuse is fucking blown. I'm over my fuck budget. Now I'm in fucking debt. Just so many wonderful things that felt appropriate as a way to end our episode here today. To those who were just widowing or with us as well, too, alongside us, sorry you're a part of this group, but we're thankful that you trusted us to hear our story. And we hope that in our sharing, you found yourself the ability and the strength to take that next step, that next breath, and to hopefully share your story as well, too. Thank you, folks. We'll see you soon.
Bye.